You know, some people work their entire lives for that one perfect dream. For Tom and Jackie Hawks, they'd actually made it. They were living in quiet retirement, sailing on their beautiful yacht, the Well-Deserved. But when the time came to trade that dream for a new one on land to be closer to their family, that final voyage, it turned into an absolute unthinkable nightmare. They set sail to sell their boat and were just never seen again.
So today, we're going to piece together the final fateful days of Tom and Jackie. We'll follow the chilling investigation that unraveled a crime of just pure calculated greed. This was a plan that was as meticulous as it was absolutely brutal.
All right, to really get the true depth of this tragedy, you first have to understand who Tom and Jackie were. See, they weren't just some couple, they were a true partnership, one built on love, on family, and on a shared dream that they literally worked their entire lives to make real.
I mean, their love story was pretty much the ideal. It was simple and it was happy. After they met and got married, Jackie became this incredibly devoted mom to Tom's two sons. And once the boys were grown, they finally cashed in their chips and made that retirement plan a reality. They bought a yacht and they gave it the perfect name, the Well-Deserved. And they spent 2 amazing, blissful years just sailing the coast. This was it. This was the life they had always dreamed of.
But then, in 2004, everything shifted. One of their sons announced he and his wife were expecting a baby, Tom and Jackie's first grandchild. And just like that, the sea kind of lost its pull. They decided, okay, let's sell the boat, buy a house on land, and be close to the new baby. For them, the dream wasn't ending at all. It was just changing shape.
So the couple placed an ad, and almost right away they found a buyer. They told their sons the sale was pretty much a done deal and that they'd be in touch soon. But after that phone call, there was just silence. And for a family as tight as the Hawks, silence was the loudest alarm bell you could possibly imagine. When the calls just kept going unanswered, Tom's brother Jim, who, by the way, was a retired police chief, he drove to the marina to see what was going on. And what he found was immediately unsettling. The Well-Deserved was a mess. We're talking lines hanging loose, tarps all out of place. For a guy as meticulous as Tom, it was just unthinkable. It made no sense. Jim knew, right there in his gut, that something was terribly wrong.
Jim left a note on the boat, and pretty soon he got a call from a woman named Skyler Deleon, the supposed new owner, and she tells him this story. She claims the Hawks took a huge cash payment, hopped in their SUV, and just headed for Mexico. Now, on the surface, okay, maybe it sounds plausible, but Jim's instincts were screaming that something was off, and that suspicion got a whole lot deeper when he found out that the $500,000 payment, it had never been deposited into the Hawks' bank account.
And that was it. Jim officially reported his brother and sister-in-law missing. The investigation immediately zeroed in on the very last people to see them alive, this young couple who supposedly bought the boat, Skyler and Skyler Deleon.
So when police bring in the 25-year-old husband, Skyler Deleon, they quickly discover he's a felon already convicted of armed robbery. And his story about what happened to Tom and Jackie? Well, it would turn out to be a carefully and clumsily constructed web of lies.
Skyler's story started falling apart almost right away. First, he claimed he paid for the boat with money he'd made as a child actor on the Power Rangers show. Seriously. When that obviously didn't hold up, he confessed it was actually stolen drug money he was trying to launder. He kept insisting the Hawks had driven to Mexico, but that lie just completely crumbled when police found their SUV, down in Mexico, all right, being driven by a friend of Skyler's.
So, police arrested Skyler on the money laundering charge that he had just foolishly confessed to, and a search of his home, it turned up the Hawks' personal property. Laptops, video cameras, things a couple would never just leave behind. And yet, even with all this evidence piling up, Skyler and Jennifer went on this bizarre public campaign of deception, even showing up on talk shows to pretend they were concerned for the couple they knew was already gone.
Okay, so Skyler was stonewalling, right? So the police turned their attention to the other people he claimed were witnesses to this boat sale. And under the pressure of some really intense questioning, the facade didn't just crack.
it shattered completely.
The first domino to fall was the notary, a woman named Kathleen Harris. After initially backing up Skyler's story, she just broke down and confessed the truth. She never even met Tom and Jackie. Skyler had paid her to backdate fraudulent sales documents that had already been signed. The entire sale, it was a total sham from the start.
So, with the notary's confession, police knew Skyler's alibi was a complete fabrication. So they turned their full attention to the other witness, a man named Alonzo Mason. And faced with this collapsing story and the offer of a reduced sentence, Alonzo confessed. And his story, it revealed a crime so much more horrifying than anyone had even imagined.
According to Alonzo, this was never a sale. It was an ambush. See, Tom, who was a former probation officer, was immediately wary of Skyler and his two friends. He had a bad feeling. So Skyler made a call, and his wife Jennifer showed up with their baby. And Jackie, so excited to be a grandmother herself, she immediately warmed to them. And Tom, seeing her relax, let his guard down. But once they were out at sea, the three men attacked, overpowering the couple and forcing them to sign over not just their boat, but also access to all of their bank accounts.
As they were being tied up and blindfolded, Jackie turned to Skyler and pleaded with him. She said, "I just held your baby. Why are you doing this?" She was appealing to the one thing that mattered most in her world, family, just hoping, praying to find some shred of humanity in her captor. But there was none.
Even in those absolutely terrifying final moments, Tom and Jackie showed this incredible courage. While signing those papers under duress, Jackie deliberately misspelled her last name, trying to leave a clue that something was wrong. Tom fought back. He actually managed to kick Skyler. And Alonzo recalled that as they were bound together, Tom just stroked Jackie's hand, comforting her. They faced the end together, just the way they had lived their lives. And then they were thrown overboard, still alive, tied to the boat's heavy anchor.
Alonzo Mason's confession just laid the entire sick conspiracy bare. It gave prosecutors everything they needed to bring all four of these conspirators to justice for their roles in this absolutely horrific crime.
In the end, Skyler Deleon, the mastermind, and John Kennedy, his violent accomplice, were both sentenced to death. Jennifer Deleon, the one who helped lure the couple to their deaths with her baby, she received life in prison without parole. And Alonzo Mason, for his testimony, was sentenced to 20 years.
But the story doesn't quite end there. The police found the Hawks' video camera during that search of the DeLeon's home, and what was on the tape inside revealed a level of depravity that is, well, it's truly hard to comprehend. The tape started with Jackie's last recording. You see her filming the inside of her beloved boat, and you can hear her talking, a little wistful about selling it, but just filled with so much excitement about her new grandchild. And then the footage just cuts abruptly. It jumps to Skyler and Jennifer, just days after the murders, laughing and celebrating at their Thanksgiving dinner. They had simply recorded over the final, precious memories of the couple they had just brutally murdered.
Tom and Jackie Hawks worked their whole lives for a dream they so richly deserved. Their trust, their kindness, their deep love for family, those were the very things that were twisted and used against them. Their story is just a brutal reminder of how a lifetime of hope can be extinguished in a single moment of greed, leaving behind only the haunting question of what could have been.